when you start with CrawlQ, when you log in, work with the idea of workspace, and you attach this workspace with a specific domain. Specific domain means a website that you have. If you don't have website, that's perfectly fine as well, because our main goal here is to really focus on one specific problem, one specific target audience, and one specific solution at one time. And that's already sort of very big statement for when you start with this tool or with this approach. But let me pick up one of the project that I have created. Let's say I have created here a project for myself, CrawlQ product hunt, PH. I come to this dashboard. If you had lifetime deal, then basically in this, you can create up to 9 different workspaces attached to either one domain or 9 different projects with 9 different domains. But let me first try to deep dive into sort of approach that we are taking here. So most of the time, people start talking about search engine optimization. And what has happened recently, especially during last 2.5 years, search engine is not itself search engine. It has become sort of answering machine. So every kind of intent that you have, you're not really looking there for topic or even keyword, but you're really looking for a question, and then you expect search engine to give you an answer. An answer is also in the form of a solution, instant solution that you can use. So most of the approach that was existing so far, like keyword based approach or even long tail keyword based approach, is sort of can give you a lot of traffic. You might be possible to learn this, adapt this into your workflow, and you can use several tools for that. And when you're really lucky, because maybe you are able to find that lucky keyword with topic with the right volume and right optimization, you can get a lot of traffic by that one blog post. If you're lucky and if you're doing all the right steps, following all these different tools and Google's webmaster guideline, everything. But the thing is, with that approach, you can bring traffic, but after that traffic is coming to your website, they are lost. They are not finding things in a coherent manner. They are not, when they go to home page, about us page, they go to different funnel steps. They don't see the content in the same tone, in the same authoritative way. And this one blog post can bring a lot of traffic. It's kind of a leaky bucket that you're carrying. So yes, it is good to think about SEO and learn all this difficult stuff, adapt in your workflow. But in the end, you are still carrying a leaky bucket. First, you need to fix the bucket before you start investing in the SEO. So that's something that connection between what Mark is trying to achieve and what you, Rahul, is trying to achieve. Before you too much get invested here in search engine optimization, in investing in different tools, in trying to really go through it and make everything possible with a lot of effort, still, this is not the first step. The first step is to start not in this right side, but in the left side, where market research. In any kind of product development, be it's let's say software product or digital services, as you can call it services, product, does not matter. The most important thing is to understand who are your target audience. Who are those people whom you're going to sell your product and services. So if you want to start like an authority in the blockchain adoption route, right? You know that there are so many players out there in the market, and you need to really find out who are these people who sort of will resonate well with your story, with your background, with what you have done so far, how they will perceive you as authority. There has to be connection with them, right? And you cannot talk with everyone out there in the market. Similarly, if you are doing local marketing services in a specific area, right, where you come from, Mark, you have to really figure out that who are these people who might be really, really interested in your services, given your background, given what you have to offer to them. So this idea of starting from target audience research, ultimately it going to give us a lot of benefit. First, we will not going to have a wrong product or wrong service designed for the target audience. Other way around, we will not have the wrong target audience for our right service or product. So it's really the idea validation, product validation, or service validation, or a message validation is really important. And if you get it right from the beginning, then you're sort of patching that leaky bucket, because you are driving your all investment in any content creation, SEO, with the bucket which is not leaky. It is all your effort is reaching towards the right target audience. If you can start from that step, and that's where I think I can link both of you, that no matter what tool you use for SEO, no matter how deep you go into the workflow process and this webmaster guideline, but if you don't fix this first step, you will be carrying a leaky bucket. Now, I wanted to stop at this point and make sure that we are on the same page on this idea.
So I have no context to agree with that or disagree with that, but it makes total sense to me. I mean, I've worked as a product manager before, and it's the same thing. You have to start with the market first before you develop what your features and offerings will look like, before you start making sure you're marketing it properly or selling it properly.
Indeed. So I can really connect with that as well, because I have also myself as a product owner or a product manager background, and most of the time the difficulty that I had in the past is being as a product manager or product developer. You are not like directly talking to your customers. Your sales team, your marketing team, they work in isolation. So yes, we know as a product engineers or product owners that we need to really know our target audience, but there is still a barrier being as a product owner, because we are not directly customer facing. Our sales team and marketing team is facing the customers, and the feedback loop coming from the marketing and sales is not that effective. And that's where also the idea is that being as a product owner, being as a product manager, or a technical tech savvy product engineer, you need to understand who is your target audience, because finally you are like managing their expectation, right? And so this tool is also very valuable to the product engineers, product owners, CMOs, and especially SaaS founders who are just starting there. But equally, it is also good for any kind of situation where you are starting your in the digital marketing or an agency space, because then you can get yourself help, but also you can get help to the clients that you work with. You can also teach the same way. And ROI is great, because here you invest time to understand how it works, but then that time you can invest and replicate with the 10 different clients or even more, right? So let me jump into a bit more nitty gritty. So Mark, if we take an example of blockchain.
That's totally cool. I've gone through, just so that you know, I've gone through a lot of the areas and I've gone through all of the videos. I've completed probably maybe 20% of the questions and stuff like that. So I am very familiar with it. So I do want to see you go through that step-by-step process. That would be totally cool to go through the blockchain.
Okay, sure. Maybe it's also a good topic to think about. So sure. when I just start, like when you have really no idea, and in this case, Rahul has already idea, but when you are really exploring a new topic, which is out of your domain knowledge, you can also start with this market spying wizard. It's just like being more detective in the market. See that same topic from different angles and try to come up with an idea of the topic.
If I can add something here, whenever somebody asks me a question about what is your target audience, I always struggle with that answer. And I typically say that people who have a budget in hand and who are making decisions on which technology in a company to invest in, but how do I target them and all is always difficult. So if the tool helps identify, then if you can highlight those things, that would be helpful.
I think you're familiar. We don't need to go through it, but for Mark, when you start new topic and you are not very much familiar with the topic, you can see the different angles like trending topics, blockchain technology, blockchain stock, blockchain explorer. We can go to blockchain adoption as a topic also. And then you have a framework on top of search where you're seeing blockchain ideas, blockchain desires. You can go through more and more into this. It's not limited to Google search, but you can go to podcast search engine. You can go to social media search, video search, news story site, Medium, Bing, Yahoo, question and information database. So this will just give you more idea. Like still we are in the phase where we wanted to discover more about our topic.
So
Similarly,
this will give idea about topics which are in which people are interested in.
yes, which people are interested in, but also for yourself to give an understanding like what kind of things people are searching about blockchain. So here is an example. You see, like can blockchain wallet be hacked? Can blockchain be centralized? Can blockchain be traced? Can black can blockchain be hacked? Reddit. So you see there are a lot of different types of questions. It's sort of we are doing research here at this stage when you are completely new to the topic. What blockchain is on is Dogecoin on? What blockchain is SafeMoon on? You see, these are the different kind of topics people are asking in the search engine. You can compare blockchain versus different other technologies, blockchain versus DLT, blockchain versus hash graph, blockchain versus data science, blockchain versus machine learning. You can compare or see different types of sort of prepositions or how to say modifiers to this search term, more going to search intent. So people generally when you're creating content for top of the knowledge, marketing people it called funnels. So when somebody says funnel, that means you're following an customer journey approach. When someone lands on your website, then there's top of the funnel. When they start interacting more deeper into your pages, let's say pricing page, or they read more about into second or third step, then it's middle of the funnel. And bottom of the funnel is where they are really buying and putting their credit card details. So depending on the funnel stage and customer journey, you can also rephrase your question. What is blockchain? How does blockchain work? How do I use blockchain? If your target audience has more like a intent question, then affordable blockchain, best blockchain. And this is like really bottom of the funnel where there is a product on blockchain, you're comparing prices, you're comparing on the reviews. So this approach, both of these approach are sort of assistant co-pilot approach, which help you to dig into the topic if you are not aware of the topic.
One thing, Harish, can you qualify the topic that we're looking at as enterprise blockchain?
Sure, sure.
Because blockchain is very wide, and when I
Indeed.
work on enterprise blockchain.
We can see what kind of topics people are searching on enterprise blockchains. So enterprise blockchain application, enterprise blockchain platform, solution, awards, use cases, companies, right? These are the typical trends.
Got
And
it.
if you wanted to deep dive into enterprise blockchain, these are like framework. This is like just sitting on top of the search, and it gives you different angles. So you just wanted to go and deep dive and see, hey, what is enterprise blockchain? What are the characteristics of enterprise blockchain? What is the best consensus mechanism for this blockchain? So here we are trying to go into deeper into our topic, trying to get more better understanding what kind of content we are creating. And still I'm saying that these are sort of assistant to our discovery process. Now, when I come to niche, then this where real insights and the information that we gathered in the previous steps will be useful. So in my case, for example, on the project that I started, the workspace, my target audience are product design engineers. And this is what I'm calling niche. But I think let's first see what is the definition of niche, because that's where I think the most important question that came from Rahul, right? Sometimes it's very difficult to put into a specific, like abstract understanding of what is the niche. So the way we work with the niche here is like this niche is in a specific group of people in a specific situation within a specific problem and a specific desire. So you see, there is somebody who you actually know, right? Whom you can invite for a coffee. and you really know this person well, consider this person, one person as your niche, because this person is in a specific, he belong to a specific group, he is in a specific situation, and he's suffering from a problem and he has a desire. So that's complete definition of a niche. An example would be bootstrapped startup, 1 to 20 people with at least $10,000 monthly recurring revenue in US with little funding, who want to ramp up to $100,000 monthly recurring revenue, but they have not yet solved the lead generation or sales. So this, it says who are these people, what is their specific situation, and what problem they have, and where they wanted to go. So this statement covers these elements. So let's see how we boil it down to further. The idea here was to start with a high level concept, product design engineer. Then we break it down into product design engineer who is tech savvy but does not know marketing. Then we further niche down this idea. The product design engineer who can tackle any task when it comes to running your business except writing engaging blog posts and product copy. My vertical is B2B SaaS, and I have an ideal prospect, an abstract concept. This can be someone who you know, right? And it can be abstract name as well. But I clearly define this person who is a Fred, who is 37-year-old product design engineer. He lead a team of developers, and not like he hasn't tried or even maybe lied to his boss that he can write blog post. But now he's really sweating on his computer screen, trying to mouth out words for his next product landing page content. So you see, like, I have turned this statement into more like a storytelling way, right? Now you can say like, hey, this is kind of quite difficult to start with, and this is not easy, right? Because it takes you some work and rework to design this kind, like how I came here, how I started this. So to give you some background, like what you have here is also in insights. So shall we take a new project and then we build from scratch? Then you'll get more better idea like how I came up to here.
Yeah, I was hoping that's what you would do with blockchain.
Yes. So let's create a new project. Blockchain adoption.
Please use enterprise blockchain. I think that is.
Here it will be just name of the project.
I see. I see.
And and I'll just put something now as an example.com. Now start thinking about like this when we saw the example, like when you write this book, right? You say I already written this book. Who are the people who you think might enjoy reading this book?
These would be people in large companies who have been working in IT, and they are director or above level, and they have financial control over certain budget, and their job makes them responsible for solving problems for their business by adopting new technologies and coming up with new solutions that their business can use.
Let's try to break this down statement, and we go with the rough idea and then we try to figure it out more better. So it's a head of IT of a large enterprise, right?
Yes.
Let's
Yes.
start this. This department head has budget, or like
Yes.
the economic decision maker.
Yes.
Decision maker and has budget.
And typically, they are director or above in titles.
Yes, let here we narrow it further down. So they are the director of IT implementation.
Yeah.
In a
or emerging technologies.
Director of emerging tech in a complex large organization. Then vertical is, we are really focusing on blockchain, because so far here we have not said. So blockchain application can also be like A vertical can be also, you can see the vertical cutting across the industry, right? A vertical can be something which, for example, cloud-based software as a service solution can also be a vertical, which can go through health industry like SaaS, right? SaaS can be in health industry, in other industries. So vertical is something which goes deeper. So let's say blockchain as a service for enterprises, right?
I would suggest to put blockchain for enterprises, because as a service, there is a very specific part of blockchain for enterprises, which is actually being targeted as the AAS, and that will, that will skew all the results which are coming.
Okay. Okay. So how should I say blockchain for?
Blockchain for enterprises. That's fine.
Enterprises. Now let's say that let's say Mark is your ideal customer. He is an head of the IT department in a large organization. Mark, who is sorry, Mark, I'm not predicting your age. Mark is 42-year-old.
He looks younger than 42.
IT. Sorry, Mark. Just
I appreciate that.
Marco is 42-year-old head of IT, IT head, or let's say director
Yes.
in Alpha INC. Am I writing correct? Minnesota. You say he is looking for an advisory solution for a large scale implementation of blockchain technology. So this is his desire. Is what he's looking for, and this is his desire. He's looking for an advisory solution for a large scale implementation of blockchain technology or blockchain project. So now, why? Because I position you already in this picture, right? I put Mark as our abstract head of the IT of this department in this specific location. And I also put you already in this picture that you are providing an advisory solution for the large scale implementation of blockchain project. Now, what do you think this solution is going to help Mark? Like,
so let me define some of the problems that Mark would be facing in this situation. First is because of cryptocurrencies, they are confused about what is blockchain versus cryptocurrencies. There is a lot of confusion out there, and they are busy people. Mark is a busy person. He doesn't have time to sift through all the confusion which is out there. They just want answers. They just want to understand how the blockchain technology is applicable to their specific situation and how it can help.
So we can understand the landscape, current challenges, right? And their specific application to his complex industry vertical. Or if Mark, you have questions.
Oh, guys, this is very good. It's very informative. So it's awesome.
Now, what we could have done is like we could also start directly from at this stage on a quick trajectory. When I say a quick trajectory, it will be something like I want to quickly spit out some blog post, or I wanted to use some landing page for copies or a sales letter. But there's something for like a quick jump. And here I wanted to go more deep dive into it, because that's where like a lot of value of the tool become very apparent. So let's go into this. And what we started is already here. Now let's say that the initial idea that we had is okay. We started with this. It was some tough initial icebreaker. But now we can say, hey, generate some insights and let me improve this information further.
Wow.
I can use this idea to further improve if something I'm lacking here, or not to refine this. So these insights really help you. And the workflow that I would recommend is first come with rough idea, use these insights, improve this idea, save this, and go to the next. Because then it starts sort of making contextual arrangement
I
or
see.
contextual connection between the next steps. What was your approach, Mark? You said you already gone through it. How did you approach it? Because you're not supposed to like answer every question like this, but you are going to like come up with your two idea and then will use fill with AI, and then you will save it, and then you generate insights. So did you use this approach, or you were thinking all
No, and as I'm going through, as you're going through this, I'm obviously taking notes, and we'll readdress, some of the information that I have in there. So I did, start with the research. Obviously, did some of the research, and then
right?
filled out the initial screen. So
Sure. So let's check with Rahul if what comes out of here makes sense or not first. So our niche is companies about blockchain for enterprise, and head of IT for large enterprise usually has a budget. The department head often has economic decision maker and has a budget. So I think we are in right direction. We are targeting
Yeah.
department of head, and this director of emerging tech in a complex organization, executive in charge of the operation deployed across multiple technology teams. Generally, someone who will take this decision either with cloud or blockchain will be someone in a higher C-suite executive, also in charge of IT operations, right? So that's,
Yes.
I think we are correct on that.
Yes, we
Budget,
are.
for example, you are the head of IT for large enterprise and you have budget. It's for an economic decision maker, significant say in how it is allocated. So it's also important that we get more information about these people, and we know that if we are targeting five big enterprise, because in your case, Rahul, what you need to do is like you need to first really identify three or four major big client, and then study their head of the department, who is sort of director of emerging tech, and he has all these characteristics. He has budget, he has a significant say in how this budget is allocated, and you see that things are coming, right?
Got it. Yeah. No, this is really good. And when you bring that up, I actually am doing a current project, not on blockchain, but in a different area with T-Mobile over here. And there is a person that is being described right here.
I think his responsibilities will be develop innovative technologies to solve problems of the company, work on high level strategy to assess tech trends and identify blah, blah, blah. So this is something that I will leave on you. But I think we are moving in right direction with Mark.
I absolutely agree.
So then you can save this insight. Use of this insight was actually to refine this. So if you think that you are slightly deviating from what you don't think is right, an approach or the right arguments, then you can change this. You can also make this bit more in a storytelling. So instead of saying, like if suppose I could also start with people who are in C-suite category, who go to office, let's say in their expensive car, you can name the car, but then things will be here in more storytelling mode. So that's also I'm giving you some tip. If you wanted to make it more engaging, like a storytelling mode, you can also turn on that approach. But here we are really going into more formal approach of defining these people in a very specific way.
super helpful right there. Now I understand better how to utilize this portion of the tool. So that's awesome.
So one question, Harish, the insights which were generated, even though I agree with them, are you suggesting that I should transfer them over to the left side in the define your niche to make it more accurate for the tool later on?
So I'm not suggesting that you just copy this information and put it here. Whether you can add more context, more specific argument to this borrowing from here. And
Okay.
this is just helpful for you to refine, because sometimes the idea can be vague, right? We already had quite good idea to start like head of large enterprise, but not always a CC. You also told me in the beginning that when you start thinking about niche, it's very difficult to narrow it down. But we already narrow it down. We had the problem pain point. So depending on this, we are already getting quite good insights. But definitely the idea here is to refine this. approach.
This I understand is correctly. So when this can help you to adjust basically what you have in your niche if you're not getting the correct insights
Indeed.
for your niche, correct?
Exactly. So if
Okay.
something is not accurate or you're not heading in the right direction, I would
Sure.
recommend that you read it from here and you apply it here. And then don't forget to save it, because once we save, then we are using this information in the next steps. So let's say demographic. Now I can use maybe your website name. So Rahul Prakash dot blog. Since you won't like to fill every detail and see what AI will suggest, and then obviously it's not going to be 100% correct, but let's see if you're getting good ideas here. So you need to fill only two initial, and then we get these letters. So role and title that you're targeting is Director of Emerging Tech in a complex organization. Role, title, decision maker. So these are generally the title of the decision maker. So I would say it says wrong here. So it's like executive head of IT department. You are the CEO of Rahul Prakash Advisory. It picks up some age, 42, location, Minneapolis. Which location you're targeting,
Seattle.
Rahul?
Seattle, Washington.
And then occupation, they are Director of Emerging Tech, married. They must be having experience of
25.
20 years,
25.
25 years experience. They could be bachelors in computer science. Doesn't matter that much for this. And I think what you get suggestion here is this, for this type of activity on this, I think your main connection should be via LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is your main traffic. It's not Instagram, it's not TikTok, it's not Facebook, but I think this, for this kind of content and target audience, the channel is LinkedIn, I think.
Yeah, I put my LinkedIn profile in the chat if you want to paste that.
Sure. Although it won't much, like we are not here like crawling your profile or something, but it just suggestion that LinkedIn, right? LinkedIn is the right channel. So let's put it like that. Maybe when you can also add your profile, so that's also fine. And now I'm going to generate insights again and then see if it's not necessary that I'm going to use that insight to change here something, but it will give me more idea about my target audience and the complexity I have with them, with their decision maker or their role title. Let's see what we get. Company name. So Rahul Prakash Advisor is a company that provides strategy, technology, and advisory services for business and emerging technologies ranging from artificial intelligence, robotics, blockchain. So you're getting some more ideas, like when you want to approach this as a blockchain expert, you wanted to add maybe these things, but this just like your profiling about your company, about your target location.
No, that's very important, because I wasn't thinking on those lines, because these companies don't look at only blockchain as their solution. It's a holistic solution, and blockchain is only one part of it. So they will always have questions around AI and robotics and how does blockchain work with it. So
You also give me
adding value.
And these organizations, company that you're targeting has 200 plus employees, and they are basically head of IT for large enterprise in Seattle, Washington. Need a vice president of IT for large enterprise, inclusive thinking, transformation, clarity. So I would not be aware about what is this. Maybe you guys are aware of in your specific area, Rahul. Clarity, concur, inclusive.
No, this doesn't make sense, but this transformation part makes sense, because slowly and slowly a new role is showing up in these companies called CDO, Chief Digitization Officer, which is about transformation using new and digital technologies.
Right. So how I will use this is to, if I don't like something, I would rather will get rid of it, because I wanted to clean them I wanted to keep them as precise as good. I wanted to save them, and I also want to use them as notes. So I think this is important for Mark as well, because if you are working on a project, you can go back here into the notes. You can see again those insights, and sometimes I use those insights also to create micro content. When I say micro content, like a quick post on the LinkedIn or a quick post on my Facebook group, and it's so, don't think that you're wasting your time here, because even if you start working on this, you're making these insights, you will get a lot of ideas of micro content, and micro content is more popular nowadays because no one have time to read bigger blogs. But I'm not saying you cannot create blog or you should not create blog, but what my main point is that, or key takeaway is that, whatever you're doing here is giving you a lot of ideas that you can already start thinking this as a content and start posting it on the
Yeah.
on the website, on LinkedIn, on your Facebook, and you wanted to keep them as precise, clean, because they're also will be used in the content creation process as a
Yeah.
context.
Yeah. So when you say micro
Because it's
content, what exactly are you referring to?
Micro content, I meant like, you have a book, right? You have written a book, like it's a
Yeah.
big piece of content. Now
Yes.
if you wanted to break it down into small pieces, like micro content, not more than like 500 words or even 300 words,
I
because
see.
sometime LinkedIn will restrict you, right? You have a limited words that you can use on a LinkedIn post. So that's
Yes.
what I meant by micro content in terms of insights. So all this section here, we are working insights, and then we have in the content automation stories. Stories is more like sales letter, video scripts, and then we have AI content writer, which is like more answering system, like creating intelligent answers from this. Mark?
does the note when you save in the notes, does it save per section? Go back to your notes. I noticed that there were a couple of different. One was your define your niche demographic. So each does it save each section when you save it? Is that what it does?
It
Or
saves like the in the order you start filling it up. But
right?
right now, you're right. It's not like saving it in the niche current environment per section. We are making it so that you will also be able to save it per section.
Gotcha. Okay, cool.
Now the thing is, I would recommend you to only complete like one, two, three, four, and maybe start already trying to see other content process. So what happened with the lifetime deal is we served the full cake on the plate, and we sort of didn't tell which piece is good, which piece to start, right? And that's where a lot of people got confused. They start filling them up, make thinking that everything is required here to proceed to next step, but that was not the case, and we are making the app more like redacted version of this app. So only the niche, environment, promise, activities, activity summary, top layer, but also in the niche, only these four categories. You define your niche, demographics, semantics, psychographics. Once you have completed this, you're ready to go to the next step. And in the new version, of course, we will log them. So basically, in the lifetime deal, we just sort of open the whole tool, and that was maybe, I'm not sure was a good idea or bad idea, but a lot of people got confused that they need to really go through it and fill it up. Of course, it is good. More you fill this information, more you are deep diving into a target audience, more you are getting the ideas, because the structure you see, if you finish this, it's almost like a sales letter or your all website content. You can cover your case studies, who you're targeting, benefit outcome. This all can tear down onto different pieces on your website, be product page, about us page, services description, home page, funnel content, right? You would have team, you would have FAQs someplace, you would have to have put all the company logos at some place, your all the asset links that you create. So you see, it's like a big thing, but most important thing to start with this is these four ideas: define niche, demographics, semantics, and psychographics. So let's quickly do this. Another my suggestion is, suppose now we open this tab, right? Now you're completely blank, right? How to start it, or you don't know like what should I do now, because it is still asking me two things. Of course, we are trying to make it as user steer as possible, because when you completely leave it on AI, that's what happened with the other tools also, because you can get more generic content, but not like really, it's more like human assisted AI. But suppose still you're stuck, you can also start here directly with insights and then see what comes out of it. Because now it's already start borrowing context from our earlier two categories,
Got it.
right?
That's
So,
very interesting.
so here it says how DevOps or IT uses AI in marketing. So AI market, how to sell innovation. I would start, if I'm not finding this is useful, I would still start like maybe with my main idea, enterprise chain adoption. That's what your main topic, right?
Yes.
You can still start with this. And then one more topic, you can tell me what do you think might be relevant here?
Framework for successful blockchain adoption.
Mm-hmm. Now important is like I didn't save it, so it won't save. And let's first take the assistant, like ask our AI assistant to give us more topics here, and then see whether we are happy with this or not. Understanding blockchain for enterprises, we didn't get much idea here. Skip this one. Blockchain basics, applying blockchain to supply chain. That's not your idea, right?
No, no, no. That's good. That's good actually.
Okay.
I'm surprised it picked that up.
Blockchain for enterprises, build a blockchain strategy,
Yeah.
your niche. So these are some of the topics or idea. I would still try to. I will save it now. I'm giving it a specific direction, right? And once I refresh this page, I can again generate insights to further refine this idea. Whether my like you what you see here, we are doing iteration loop, right? But if we don't know where to start, we can generate insights, see what comes out of it, does it make sense, we can use that. If we don't want to do that, we can come up with our two idea and let AI assistant tell, hey, give me some more ideas, and then we save this and we ask again, generate insights. So
Yeah.
we are in an iterative way optimizing our research in here, right?
So, Harish, in this case, this is very interesting. What's the difference between fill with AI and generate insights? Because I would be assuming that all AI behind the scenes using the same set of data which has been provided to it to come with something to help us. But looks like these are two different parts.
Is very specific answer to a very specific question. It's very like let's say it's very specific in the nature, and not too much detailed. And
Huh.
here insight is more like description about this problem. It take into
Okay.
account this information, like when you are filling this, you can
I
also read
see.
this help,
Uh,
like why this is important, why long tail topics, and why how we should create an niche headline. So we are telling user this instruction, but at the same time asking AI also this instruction, and
Got it.
help user to come up with more best ideas here or more better
Okay.
answers here.
Yeah, both fill with AI and generate insights is still using the content provided to it in the first two steps.
Indeed, indeed.
Okay,
This
got it.
is this is still using, and now when I provided this content and saved it, it's also using my user's input. So here inputs are used again. So you see now insights have changed. They are not same as earlier. It's also giving me some nice headline, problem, issues. It's not giving me one topic, but giving me a description, whole description of the topic. There's so much insights here that you can really start like creating blog post or headline. For example,
This will help create a content strategy.
exactly. How do you optimize your content for search engine and ensure that your contents being understood by a target audience? Framework. The framework on how to think about blockchain strategy for enterprises,
Hmm.
or enterprise blockchain adoption toolkit framework for successful blockchain adoption. So you're
Hmm.
getting sort of into headlines and ideas, right?
Yep, yep.
And then, of course, last step, which I wanted to skip, but This covers whole sort of problem statement, your emotional connection with the buyer, big desire of your buyer, problem, questions, results, roadblock. Maybe it will be interesting when you will do it yourself. You'll
I have no idea about these. I've never even thought about these.
right. So these are kind of topics that you can use. But then you can jump into this content creation. So it's kind of stories. You can create video, or you can create headlines. You can create long form sales letter. So maybe we try to work with it if time permits. Do you have time now, or you need to go?
Yeah, I mean, this was so impactful and useful. I ended up canceling my meeting. So I have all the time you need.
Okay, blockchain, client name.
I mean, if you want a real name, you can just put T-Mobile.
What is name?
T-Mobile.
T-Mobile.
It's a telecom company here.
T-Mobile. Do something amazing result as well.
I'm not sure what is it asking here.
It's asking like what your solution, or what will the amazing result of your advisory service.
Okay.
Do something amazing as a result of product or service. So what will happen when you will advise this client on
Yes.
T-Mobile?
Yes.
What will happen to this?
Yes. Yes. They will be able to put together a very effective blockchain adoption strategy.
Okay, implement. Let's say they will be able to implement effective framework for blockchain adoption. Make sense?
Yeah.
Then primary gain for doing something amazing. What is the primary gain? They will save money, time, freedom, effort,
For them, it would be, there'll be a lot of cost savings.
cost. Let's keep it short. Like the primary gain is cost savings. And last question, because you see here bar, which is getting very close, and their questions are many. So again, we are taking help of AI, and whatever information we fed earlier is going to be sort of stitched together with this information. And then we are going to aim for like let's say 70 to 80% draft, which you can just work out, finally correct grammar, add some of your stuff, but we will see this in action. So cost saving, what you would generally use the primary gain for, like this IT head Mark, like
Uh,
if he has a cost saving, is he going to get recognition in the enterprise? Like what will the personal benefit of?
yeah. So there are two ways to look at it. One at it is from a personal level, like Mark himself. He would likely get a lot of recognition and promotion. And from a company perspective, it would be an increase in shareholder value.
Right. So let's focus on the Mark, because you need to be really appealing. You need to be really sort of making an emotional connection with the Mark. So that
Okay.
means an recognition in Mark's effort
Yeah.
in blockchain adoption in T-Mobile. Okay, now you see this is green. It turned green. Now we can use this option, fill with AI. We are still trying to do our best so that you don't need to fill this and it all happen in the background. And we are researching, implementing in a way which would help more and more. So now many of the questions are answered. First, a specific example of what you could do if you achieved your primary gain. Mark can become famous for his blockchain adoption in T-Mobile. Mark has a chance to write a case study for Harvard Business Review. Very good. Mark will be able to prove his leadership in the blockchain adoption. But I'm not going through all question. You can if you want, because all these question will be saved in the background.
Okay.
And more you use this script, more and more information will help each other to get more and more specific content. And if you're not happy with any of this answer, you can clear and generate with AI. But sometimes you can also follow the approach that I wanted to see what comes out, and then I will go back and change if needed. But maybe
Okay.
sometime you can get something which is already very useful.
Whatever little we saw was very useful. One thing I would just say, Harish, though, is that, unless I was sitting here, okay, let me put it this way. if I had not shown up today for this session, I would have been very lost in the tool.
Yeah.
So I know you had echoed that, but what might help is that if you can somehow specify at each and different functionality that you have or a screen that you have as to what is the 80-20 that I can use, that is 20% of the work to get the 80% of the results if I don't want to go through the 100% of everything.
Mm-hmm. Definitely, we are really working on that to make these flows and more trimmed down version of the app, which is like all the pieces working together and which is easy to understand. But let me quickly go through this. So this is almost like a ready sales letter or a landing page for you, which you can use. It's written in a way which you can start like putting on your blog or in a content. You can adapt to it, and if you want to do more changes in it, you get all the search result and their headlines, paragraphs here. So I would just wanted to read one few lines and see with you, does it make sense? So imagine you could, so you're addressing this letter to
Yeah.
Mark, and this is our like landing page or let's say sales letter, and you can break down sales letter in many ways. But sales letter is very effective way to tell your story about your service or product to your target audience. So imagine you could implement an effective framework for blockchain adoption. Think of how much more cost savings you would have to status and recognition in Mark's authority in blockchain adoption. So there are some issues with this, but you see the framework, you see the beauty,
Yes, yes,
right?
yes, yes. Yeah.
Our solution, you will get XYZ, which is again putting the benefit. Some type of code is necessary to immediately establish more stronger connection. You could imagine this offer and continue this blah blah blah, or so you see what I'm aiming for here. What I'm aiming for, like a very specific framework in how to tell your about your service to the mark. And now if you wanted to do more research here or convert this into a blog post, you can sort of generate these questions from this content. So we are not going to use other people's content. What we are going to use, we are going to generate smart questions from them, and then we will use our market research to answer those questions. So in the end, we are like using this content to get questions, because when you go through the research part, you wanted to understand what focus is there in this content, right? And that
Yes,
focus is
absolutely.
coming from the questions. So for example, a question can be, what are the social impacts of blockchain and digital currencies? Now, maybe this is not directly relevant to this, but answer AI will try to answer it in the way which we feed into it initially.
So if I get the workflow right, so you first picked up the content from a competitor's website, you converted that into a question based upon whatever the answer might be in the
Okay.
content, and then we are generating our own content to that question which was answered already by a competitor.
We just took some content as a reference. We turned into powerful questions. You can also change this question, by the way. It's like you can edit the question. The idea was to just have very powerful questions which is related to blockchain adoption, right? And then answer this in the context of our research that we have done. So that way we are like connecting directly to the market research and creating content which is based also on the content which is already ranking on
The
this.
content that was created, is that original content?
You mean the answer?
The answer, yes.
This is original. This is coming from AI, and it is using the
Very
information.
cool.
This is using the information that you have fed into the earlier. So this prompt, or how to say input to the AI, is not borrowed from here. It's just like turning into question, and then from that question, you're trying to get an answer which is in your context. Sometimes, of course, question do not make sense because the model here is not that perfect. But of course,
You can edit the questions,
you can
right?
edit the question. You can definitely edit the question. So this approach takes into account questions, answer model. This is the story. We have seen how the insights we were working earlier. We can see all the headlines, paragraphs, topics that we should talk about in this context. Like when I'm talking about blockchain adoption, I should be thinking about public adoption, challenge, transaction, network, company, business. Don't think them as a keyword, but think about them as a topic. So then you are in thinking more broader term. Sometime when it is possible, it also fetch questions from Quora on the similar things, or if it's a product, then from product hunt reviews or from other sources. You can see your market research all here. So when you wanted to amend this content or change content or make some adaptation here, you can again refer to your market research here.
All the power that you're showing me with this is actually giving me another different idea, which was I had been thinking about researching and writing a book on decentralized finance, DeFi. This is showing me, or the thought process this is taking me through, is that if I can use one of the existing major providers of content for DeFi as a source of inspiration to figure out what would the content flow for the book should look like, what chapters it should be hitting upon, what are the different questions it should be answering, and then go around researching based upon that and then structuring based upon that, that seems to make so much sense to me.
Right. I'm creating something similar here. So I started with bigger topic like write a blog to identify key challenges during SaaS product launch, past failures, lesson. I wanted to turn not into book, but at least a good blog which covers a lot of ideas or challenges. And what I'm doing is I'm going through this different content, turning them into question. And from those questions, I'm trying to generate answers from the insights. So when I say I'm trying to generate answers, it's taken care in the backend that it try to get your market research answers, insight, and try to fit into that context as much as possible. Sometimes I see that the model doesn't make sense or it spit out something, but sometimes or many time or most of the time when it is properly framed, or you can edit question also to make it work. But once you edit the question the way it work, you get really good content, and then you can just stitch it. So the bigger difference from other AI tool or this AI tool is those AI tools are more designed for generic content. So you can press the button, you can get long form content, but when you go through it, this is still useful for people who are like on high level trying to understand what is blockchain. It's more good for like a Wikipedia type of article. We are not creating here Wikipedia type of article. We're creating something which is more in depth into the domain, and that's why this approach is there. So it's not going to give you like within 5 minutes that you have your blog ready and you publish it, but it will help you in researching it, going through in depth of it, in connection with the target audience.
Yes.
Rich, let me ask you if you don't mind. So you're at this stage right here. Do you save this or do you re-access it? Can you come back into it to edit it? How do I, because I notice, what do I do from here? Let's say that I've built this blog based on my research. I've added in all of the information. Then how do I come back and access this later if I want to finish it or continue to work on it? What's that process?
Yeah, currently, Mark, this is a bit challenge. We are trying to solve it with creating a version system and also integration with the Google Doc. Current workaround which I do is like when I'm working on this, I open a Google Doc in the site, and I always like if I'm working it for like next 15 minutes or something, I'll put it on my Google Doc on the side by side. So I'm sorry about this, but this is currently the workaround that you can apply, because you don't want to, if you go back and then you lose this information, and
Sure.
this is sort of highly inconvenient for our users, and we are really working to make sure.
Yeah, no problem. I get it. That's awesome.
As far as you know that you should be able to copy this, in a Google Doc, or when you're finished, you can also export it as a PDF or print it as a PDF, or just
so let me ask you, so am I understanding this as you continue to, you identified those 5 top sections that are really information that we need to have in there in order to try to generate, good content relevant to our topic. There's always going to be an adjustments that need to be made in that final copy. It's never going to be necessarily where it produces a copy that you can just output per se. There's always some adjustments that you're going to make in there. Is that correct in saying that?
Yes. So let me give you example. So here, when we generated this letter, you saw some codes here, right? This codes,
Sure.
this customer code. Now, this is not real, right? This is generated by AI, and it give you framework. You can replace this quote or testimonial with actual
Sure.
one. But now, if suppose we would have done all these boxes here, which is sort of case studies, testimonials, then instead of that code which AI generated, it will come from here. So
Awesome.
that's the difference between doing the full market research and
Right.
so you receive customer testimonial. It's good to just put it here, and it's not an AI doing magic, but you have real customer testimonial, and that's how you build a repository of information at one place, right? So that you can really use this when it's needed. Also, we have this thing search. So if you are in a customer call now Mark is Rahul is really in the call with Mark, and Mark is head of the IT mobile, and you are discussing about your solution, right? But then you still need to have like a lot of information with you so that you can continue this discussion. And you're almost into the end of the call, and you say, okay, I wanted to close this call, and these are 2-3 main benefits of my advisory. But here you can search all this information back. So let's say, or maybe it won't show me anything, but my main point here is what we are building in the backend is a smart layer which can talk to language model like AI model, regardless. Now it's GPT-3, but maybe something else will come in future, or there are several language models. But what we are doing here is we are creating an intelligent layer which can talk to the user's information in terms of insights, or we are also creating now an ability so you can upload your book also. So whatever book you have written, you should be able to upload it, and then we should be able to use it like any kind of information, not only search and say it like here, but this book or main element of it, we should be able to take those snippet and fit into our content creation or answering the questions, right? So
is that functionality already available, or you're building it?
Not yet, we are building it.
Okay.
And that's the starting point of it, because now you see, when I type blockchain benefit or blockchain adoption framework, or I could have, because we say main, but the main idea here, what I'm trying to say is all this information in the market research or in the insights that is available to this intelligent layer to feed into the different places where we need it. And that's what working in the background between connecting the language model and the information. So you can also ask very generic information in a short way to the language model. If you're writing a blog on let's say dog training, weight loss. Now half of the internet or 80% content on the internet is full of this, and all any kind of language model will give you like good answers as far as that topic is concerned. But we are really talking about here blockchain adoption for enterprise level client, and very specific characteristic of this client Mark, right? Then it's very hard to generate a continuous content which you can just lift and use it, right? You need to still is restructure it, use it, because what happens with the language model is the more specific you go, they give you insights which is useful, but then quality deteriorate because it has less trained data to generate that output. It's not like creating duplicate content. This language model is intelligent. It's like a 9-year-old kid. He has some sort of intelligence, but still it will not give us like anything which we can just use as it is, right? We need to refactor it, we need to tailor it, we need to adapt it to our situation. And that's where kind of big difference of this tool can be useful for cutting down your research maybe 3 times, time maybe cut down. You might come across arguments, ideas, insights which you will not think yourself. Or when I use this, sometimes I don't come up with the words which are compelling because maybe I'm not a native speaker, right? Or
Yes.
even if I'm native speaker, maybe I'm not trained in terms of speaking a marketing language. No, Mark is really trained. He has worked in the industry for long term. So, but backgrounds from like us, product owner, we can use this tool, and even Mark can validate it. That it can be useful for even seasoned marketers also. So, any final thought or comment? Where
I agree with you 100%. I mean, there's a lot of pieces to this tool, and you can go in as deep as you want, you know, depending upon what you're trying, what market you're targeting. And so I think it's with all, and I like the idea that it's all as well in one location. You can do all your market research here, you know, and you click on it, it opens up, you know, all the different, everything that you need to do your market research and put all that information together. So it's very awesome.
you can still use those emails category. You will get like content to start your lead capture or your nurture campaign, auto response like emails, like 5 6
Mhm.
emails. So these are webinar, short video scripts like landing page here, sales letter, emails, more insights, or how to put testimonials together, or if you're running some upsell funnel, you can use this approach.